Welcome to One-Off Coder. I'm Dr. Vang. Today, we'll be coding the classic rock-paper-scissor game using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In this rock-paper-scissor game, you will play against the computer. Each round, you have only 15 seconds to choose rock, paper, or scissor. If you take longer to choose, by default, the computer wins. As you can see from the game interface, we have the title at the top. At the bottom, we have a table. The first row stores yours and the computer's score. The second row are the images of rock, paper, or scissor. When the game is initialized, we place default images. To the bottom left is a set of radio buttons for you to select rock, paper, or scissor. To the bottom right is the timer. Let's dive into the code now. Here, we are using VS Code to code our game. To the left, you will see all the resources we will need for this game. First, there is an audio folder to store sounds for when you win, lose, or tie. Second, there is an images folder to store the rock, paper, or scissor images. Make sure your images are of the same dimensions. Here, all our images are 256 by 256 pixels. The index.html stores our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code. Looking at the HTML, we have the standard HTML, head, and body tags. Inside the head tag, we have metadata such as our title. We also store our CSS and JavaScript code in the head tag. Let's reiterate the mental model of web programming from our other videos. HTML codes our content, CSS codes the style, and JavaScript codes the behavior. The body is where the meat of our HTML elements live. We have an H1 tag to display our game title. There is a table with 3 rows. The first row stores yours and the computer's score. The second row stores what you and the computer selected, rock, paper, or scissor. The last row stores the radio button for the user to choose rock, paper, or scissor in the bottom left. After selecting rock, paper, or scissor, the user must click on the shoot button to submit the choice to the computer. The timer is to the bottom right of the table. Lastly, there are 3 audio tags to reference the MP3 file. We have added ID attributes to some of these HTML elements as we will need to reference them later from the JavaScript. If you look carefully, the body's tag's onload attribute is set to call the init JavaScript function. We'll talk more about the init function later. The onload attribute is our entry point to set up the game when the web page is loaded. In the CSS, we specify for the font to be monospace for all elements. The title, GameDiv, and RPS image classes are to center the associated HTML elements. Our game table is styled with the GameTable and GameTD CSS classes. We also style the timer and score elements with the timer and score classes, respectively. The JavaScript code to add behavior to this game is rather involved. A lot of these methods are helper methods to abstract away complicated or mundane tasks, such as getting the user's options of rock, paper, or scissor. Abstracting away complicated functions helps us by thinking at higher levels and also allows us to reuse code. Let's fly over these functions at a high level to get a sense of what's going on. In almost every game, there is state to be maintained. In this game, we maintain the state of the user score, the computer score, and the timer. These states are maintained through the variables timer, uscore, and cscore. The init function is where we initialize the game. Remember that we use the body tag's onload attribute to call this function to set up the game. The countdown function uses JavaScript setTimer method to do the countdown. Update scores updates the user and computer score. Clear options resets the radio button selection made by the user. The option selected function is triggered by the shoot button. This function is where all the magic happens. We get what the user and computer selected and take the appropriate actions after determining who wins. The getWinner function determines who wins and is composed of very long if-else statements. GetImageSource returns the appropriate image of rock, paper, or scissor. PlaySound plays the appropriate sound depending on whether the user wins, loses, or ties. GetUserOption and GetComputerOption are helper methods that retrieves what the user and computer selected in terms of rock, paper, or scissor, respectively. We now have a full rock-paper-scissor game code in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. What additional features might you add to this game? Could you modify this game to go beyond the selection of rock, paper, or scissor and create rules around winning, losing, and tying? The full source code is open source and in the link below. Empower yourself to think critically through solving problems through coding. As always, be healthy, happy, and successful. Keep learning and growing. Keep coding.